The first night after the moon landing, all 3 astronauts fell asleep, not because of excitement, but because they saw something they shouldn't have seen. NASA has kept this secret for 50 years, and only recently dared to reveal part of it. What's more ridiculous is that Armstrong's famous line on the moon was cut off by an emergency in the second half of the sentence. What did he see that caused the command center to cut off the signal? You think the moon is just a flag and a photo, but in fact, astronauts are experiencing life and death tests on the surface of the moon every second. The moon's dust can instantly tear the astronaut suit, and the temperature difference can freeze or burn you to death within an hour. What's more terrible is that there's a huge magnetic field abnormality on the back of the moon, and all the devices there are out of order. 3 of the Soviet-launched probes were completely out of order, and they never came back. And the real reason why the US lunar landing plan suddenly stopped is not an official financial problem. It's because they found something that changed human cognition on the moon. On the morning of the 16th of July, 1969, when the Saturn V rocket slowly took off, 600 million people around the world were holding their breath in front of the TV. No one knows what kind of nightmare the greatest adventure in human history will encounter. The moment the rocket ignited, the earthquake on the ground was equivalent to 5 or 6 earthquakes. 3 astronauts, Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins, were dead on their seats. They could feel every bone trembling. Only 12 minutes after takeoff, they experienced their first life and death moment. The rocket's second-generation propeller suddenly vibrated. The dashboard in the cockpit flashed a red alert. Armstrong's heartbeat rose to 156 times per minute. This data was later recorded by NASA. But the scarier part is yet to come. When the rocket crossed the dashboard, the 3 of them received a radiation dose of 200 times that of the Earth in less than an hour. You know, this radiation belt is like a death barrier set by the Earth. Any life that passes through it is at risk of DNA destruction. NASA scientists have done calculations. If the rocket stays in the radiation belt for more than 2 hours, the probability of cancer in astronauts will soar to more than 80. But Apollo 11 must go through, because this is the only way to the moon. There is no other choice. 3 days later, when the moon landing began, a more thrilling scene appeared. The scheduled landing site was actually a dangerous area full of giant rocks. Armstrong had to take over manual control urgently. At a height of only 30 meters from the moon, the fuel alarm rang. The engineers at the ground command center all stood up, because they know fuel can only last 60 seconds. If you can't find a safe landing site in 60 seconds, you'll be waiting for them to crash, and then you'll be stuck on the moon forever. In the final 25 seconds before the fuel ran out, the moon landing site successfully landed. Armstrong's report said, "The base at sea should have landed." Behind him is his heart beating 180 times a minute, extremely nervous. But the real test has just begun. When Armstrong opened the cabin door and was about to step on the moon, the scene he saw stunned him. The surface of the moon is not the gray and white you imagine, but a strange metallic light. Strangely enough, there are a few reflections on the horizon, like some kind of metal structure. He immediately reported to the ground, but the ground command is extremely short. Don't ask too many questions. The moment he stepped on the moon, the first impact Armstrong felt was not the wonder of weightlessness, but fear. Because the characteristics of the moon's dust are completely beyond human cognition. These dust particles are only 1/1000th of the diameter of human hair, but each one is as sharp as a microblade. They are crazy with static electricity attached to the astronaut suit, drilling into every gap. Armstrong later recalled that when they were walking on the surface of the moon, he could clearly hear the sound of dust sliding through the astronaut suit. It's like a nail sliding through a blackboard. What's more terrible is that once these dust particles enter the astronaut suit, it will immediately trigger a violent response to the respiratory tract. When they returned to the moon, both of them had serious allergic symptoms. Armstrong even coughed up blood. NASA later recorded in a medical report that the toxicity of the moon dust may be 10 times more potent than the most dangerous insomnia on Earth. But what really scares astronauts is the change in the temperature of the moon. Where the sun shines directly, the temperature is up to 127 degrees Celsius. It's enough to boil the water in an instant. And the temperature in the shadow is as low as 183 degrees Celsius, which is much colder than the South Pole. This means that if there is any malfunction in the temperature control system of the astronaut suit, the astronaut will be burned to death or frozen to death in a few minutes. What's more ridiculous is the life support system behind the astronaut suit. This device looks like a school bag. It's actually the only lifeline of an astronaut. It must provide oxygen at the same time, adjust the temperature, eliminate carbon dioxide, and maintain pressure. If anything goes wrong, the consequences are fatal. Armstrong and Aldrin are on the surface of the moon. This system can only last for 2 hours and 28 minutes. Every second of the countdown is a gamble. When they collected the lunar sample, a more strange phenomenon occurred. Aldrin noticed that some rock on the surface of the moon would emit a faint light when it was touched. This light lasted about 3 to 4 seconds before it disappeared. He immediately reported this strange phenomenon to the ground, but the response he got was, "Focus on your task. Don't be distracted by other things." This gap later became one of the most mysterious unsolved riddles in the lunar mission. Scientists speculate that this may be the radiation element of some unknown in the lunar rock. Some people also believe that this is evidence that there is some kind of energy source inside the moon. But NASA has never given an official explanation. All relevant data are listed as top-secret files. What's more shocking is that when Armstrong inserted the American flag, they all noticed a strange detail. The flag was floating slightly on the surface of the unsealed moon. This picture was seen by hundreds of millions of people around the world. It also became one of the core evidence for the lunar conspiracy theory. But the truth is that there's a lever in the flag that's used to lift the flag, and the vibration when the flag was inserted caused the flag to float in the air for several minutes. In the 21 hours and 36 minutes on the surface of the moon, astronauts also encountered another deadly threat: the universe without atmospheric protection. Every moment, they are under attack from high-energy particles from the sun and deep in the universe. The energy of these particles penetrates human cells and causes DNA damage. Scientists later calculated that if you stay on the surface of the moon for a day, the radiation you receive is equivalent to taking 200 X-rays on Earth. But what worries NASA the most is not these unknown dangers, but those unknown threats. In the mission briefing, there is a top-secret file specifically listed the unknown risks of the moon's existence. It includes unknown microorganisms, unknown magnetic field, unusual gravity fluctuations. There's even a smart life track. This is not a science fiction. It's a real-life risk that NASA has carefully evaluated before landing on the moon. When the landing gear is ready to return, another surprise appears. The ignition button is broken. There is no spare part on the moon, no repair tool. If it can't be ignited, 2 astronauts will be trapped on the moon forever, waiting for oxygen to run out. Aldrin concentrated and used a pencil-shaped pen to poke into the switch to trigger the ignition. At that moment, the whole world held its breath. On the way back to Earth, a bigger test is still waiting for them. The spaceship must enter the atmosphere at an extremely precise angle. If the angle is too large, it will be rebounded back into space by the atmosphere. If the angle is too small, it will be burned because of overheating friction. The melting point of this angle is only negative 0.5 degrees. It is equivalent to crossing an eye at a speed of 400,000 kilometers per hour on the highway. On the 24th of July 1969, when Apollo 11 landed in the Pacific Ocean, the whole world held its breath. But few people know, 3 astronauts were immediately quarantined in a completely sealed mobile quarantine facility for 21 days. This is not for celebration. It is to prevent unknown pathogens from contaminating the Earth on the moon. NASA's biophysical protection plan even prepared a plan to sink the whole spaceship into the sea at the right time. What is more shocking is that after a detailed physical examination, the bodies of the 3 astronauts have changed abnormally. The number of white cells in Amstel is unusually high. Aldrin's immune system indicators are out of order. Klins has been in a state of insomnia for several weeks. These data were later classified as top secret. It was only gradually decrypted decades later. But the strangest thing is the sudden termination of the Apollo plan. After successfully landing on the moon, NASA's original plan was executed until Apollo 20. But after Apollo 17, all subsequent tasks were canceled. The official reason is that the budget was cut, but the actual cost is only 65% of the planned budget. What is even more puzzling is that all the equipment for Apollo 18, 19, and 20 has been manufactured. The astronauts have also completed their training. Why did it suddenly stop? One confirmed fact is that the astronaut on Apollo 17, Aldrin, saw something on the moon that shouldn't have existed. He had a strange pause in a radio call. It lasted nearly 2 minutes. The ground command center called repeatedly, but there was no response. When the communication was restored, Aldrin's voice was clearly trembling, but he refused to reveal what he saw. He just said, "We should leave here as soon as possible." What is even more unsettling is that of the 12 astronauts who landed on the moon, 8 of them had different levels of mental abnormalities later in the year. Aldrin has severe depression and alcoholism. He has repeatedly publicly expressed regret for going to the moon. Another astronaut, Edgar Mitchell, became a passionate supporter of UFO research after retirement. He has repeatedly claimed that extraterrestrial civilization has been monitoring humans. In 2024, the U.S. restarted the moon landing project Artemis, but the progress was extremely slow. The original plan was to land on the moon in 2025, but it was postponed to 2027. Some internal personnel revealed that NASA had encountered some historical issues. What exactly are these issues? It's still a mystery to this day. China's Chang'e probe found some strange geological structures on the back of the possible moon, showing obvious artificial symmetry features. These discoveries have sparked fierce debate in the scientific community. Some people think it's a natural coincidence, and some people insist that there may have been a trace of some kind of intelligent civilization on the moon. Today, in 2025, 56 years have passed since the first time humans landed on the moon. But the mystery of the moon has not only not diminished, but more and more huge metal abnormalities on the back of the moon. The hollow structure inside the moon, the mysterious light on the surface of the moon, and the classified lunar map are all reminding us that our understanding of the moon may be less than one. What's even more thought-provoking is why, today, with advanced technology, humans are reluctant to return to the moon. Is it a matter of technology, or is there a secret that can't be told? What did those astronauts see on the moon back then? Why did many of them refuse to talk about the moon after they returned? Perhaps the moon has never been a simple, desolate planet. In those ancient meteorite pits, in those strange magnetic field abnormalities, in those mysterious structures reflecting metallic light, there are secrets that are enough to rewrite human civilization. And these secrets may be the real reason why humans have not dared to set foot on the moon for more than 50 years. Before Armstrong's death, he said to his loved ones, "The truth will make humans panic." After he said that, he never talked about the moon again. What's more, we may never know the true meaning of this sentence. But what we can be sure of is that on the moon, which is 380,000 kilometers away from the Earth, there is indeed something beyond human cognition. When we look up at the moon in the night sky, we may realize that it is not just a beautiful celestial body, but also a forbidden land full of unknown and danger. And the exploration of the moon by humans has just begun.